Weekday morning 6 to 10. Talk 910 KNEW.
Let's think about thinking for a minute. It's a very big topic of man and thinking, and you have to understand the Greeks to understand what thinking is in order to get yourself out of the place you're in. There was a Greek philosopher named Plato who said, most of the social and political ills from which you suffer are under your control, given only the will and courage to change them. You can live in another and a wiser fashion if you choose to think it out and work it out. You are not awake to your own power, close quote. And that was a teaching that, frankly, has not yet sunk into the common intelligence of our people to this day. We are still in many ways pre-4th century. We find men who are living in a childlike, dreamlike state with primitive thought. But those of us who are given to a disciplined and critical attack upon the problems of life, those of us, in other words, who can think with logic, understand the problems that we are in and how we got here. But unfortunately for us, because of the flood of illegal aliens, let's put that on the top of the table, and you'll see why the elites did this. It's not that they're stupid necessarily, but their language barrier is such that they can't really follow the ins and the outs of the arguments that are going on. In other words, they're a malleable mass of people that will continuously put demagogues in power, demagogues on the order of the type we have now. And so you have people who live in a childlike, dreamlike state of primitive thought, and they don't like those of us who have a disciplined and critical ability to think. So if I say to you, I don't like you thinking in symbolism and imagery, I don't like you talking about monsters with taboos and awes and restraints, I want you to engage with me in systematic thinking. I think that if they did that, they'd come to understand the danger we are in. And that goes to almost every problem we are talking about. And it goes not only to America today, where we still have the power to save America, as you could see with the town halls, what happened. And you saw who attacked them the most demagogue, the biggest demagogues in Congress. The biggest demagogues, Specter, Boxer, Feinstein, they called them every name under the sun. They're threatened by discipline and logic.
Savage. This is the Savage Nation on Talk 910 KNEW.
It is the Savage Nation. Would you like to hear what the Scottish moronic justice said about releasing the Lockerbie bomber, or you've heard it? Would you like to hear Peter Benjamin Mandelson, president of the Board of Trade in Britain, on the release of the Lockerbie bomber? Listen to clip 6 and you'll hear what it's all about.
I've met Colonel Gaddafi's son twice this year, as I've already stated. On both occasions, Mr. Gaddafi raised the issue of the Libyan prisoner in Scotland, as all representatives of the Libyan government do whenever they meet anyone from Britain. And they had the same response from me that they've had from any other member of the government, and that is that the issue of the prisoner's release is entirely a matter for the Scottish Justice Minister. That's how it was left. That's how it was well understood.
Well, if that were true, then you wouldn't hear the following question in clip 8. Would you listen to this one?
But why is the Libyan government thanking the UK government if it's just a Scottish matter?
You'd have to ask the Libyan government that. I don't think you should actually take too literally what Mr. Gaddafi says. I gather he's also thanked the Queen. Look, they're obviously relieved to see this prisoner back home with his family. He's in his dying weeks or months, I don't know. But he's been absolutely...
Right, we heard enough of this bull crap. The reason there's an outcry is because there's a quid pro quo here. And as you well know, the British will put quid before anything on earth. As they say about the missionaries that came to Hawaii, they came to do good, and they did very well indeed. So when you hear quid pro quo, you have to understand it has a triple meaning here. And, of course, it's always the quid. And the Brits wanted a deal with the Libyans, so they traded blood money. It was oil for blood. That's all. The very same corrupt Labor government that put Michael Savage on a list with known murderers and terrorists and will not remove him, even though a furtherance of discovery has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that I've never provoked violence. Their own emails say that. And that they put me on the list in order to make the radical Muslims not feel singled out. Even though that came out in our email discovery thus far with your help to the Legal Defense Fund, the very same portraits of Dorian Gray who run the Labor Party, the very same Dorian Grays who are running the Labor government have dug their heels in and will not take my name off the list. That's why I say please go to michaelsavage.com and put two and two together. And this is a book that every liberal should own. They won't buy the book, though, because they don't really believe in what they say. They're all liars. There's a big difference between a true liberal and a progressive. And I don't know how many true liberals are left in America. I know that there's a slew of millions of progressives, and the word progressive is a front for many different groups, not the least of which is traitor. To me, the word progressive usually means traitor. Reuven in San Francisco, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Temple on October the 24th. Yeah, I remember.
Reuven, go ahead, please. You're on the Savage Nation.
And it is George Benson. This is his new one.
All right, thanks for the call. And a real winner that one was. A little call screening would be good. New York City, WOR. Janet, go ahead, please. Hello, Janet. Okay, I guess we've lost two in a row. One more, and I'm going to take a break. We're going to go for broke now. San Francisco, Kenny W. Jason, go ahead, please.
Savage, love the show. My comment is the reason the CIA is being attacked is because we have no national pride anymore. The word American has been so diluted by African American, Indian American, Latino American. There's no just pure Americans, and that's the problem.
Well, I don't think that you're right. I think it has nothing to do with the politics of racial and ethnic identity. I think it has to do with the politics of radical communism in the form of progressives who are inside the ACLU and corrupt members of the business community who are using these radical communists and these lawyer groups in order to throw off our intelligence agencies. They do not want the intelligence agencies doing their job. I don't think it has anything to do with other than pure corruption and pure money. And, of course, the threat from within is overwhelming. It's never been this great. Indiana, Frank, you're on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Hey, how you doing? I was just finding it interesting how our brave soldiers are overseas, fighting against these terrorists, having bombs and bullets whizzing past their heads. However, our congressmen don't have the courage to come and face us so-called Nazis and wild mobs at these town hall meetings.
Yeah, it's an interesting combination. But let's talk about our soldiers and the number of them dying in Afghanistan and the numbers who died and are dying in Iraq. Let us say from roadside bombs. Now, let us say you're a U.S. Marine and you capture a cell of terrorists, and you want to interrogate them because you know that they're going to set off the IEDs in that neighborhood. How would you go about getting the information from them when they're hard as nails? What would you do to get the information out of them?
I would personally do whatever it takes.
Would you withhold a Quran from them in order to make them not in order to make them tell you? Of course not. That wouldn't work. Would you withhold a prayer rug from them? Would that work? No, that wouldn't work. You've got to use the techniques that were used for years by police agencies in order to scare the enemy into giving up the information. Short of actual torture, which was never conducted, by the way. You'll notice that actual torture was never conducted. This is pseudo-torture. Putting a gun next to a terrorist's head is not torture. Shooting the terrorist in the kneecap is torture. Let's go down the list. The radical left says that they threatened the terrorist families. So what? Big deal. Did they kill the terrorist families the way the terrorists and their cousins killed our families? No. And so, therefore, you understand which side these lawyers are on, the ACLU lawyers. They are on the other side. They're fighting for the other side. They're fighting to kill us. They're fighting to kill our troops, and now they're going after the CIA. It would actually take a loyal, patriotic American president to stop them. But our loyal, patriotic American president is right now in Martha's Vineyard, and he released the mad dogs on the CIA because I suspect that the CIA also had something of a surprise nature about Obama, perhaps even relating to the, quote, birther controversy, which is why him and Eric Holder finally pulled the trigger on this particular investigation. Remember, this didn't start yesterday. The radical left has been after the CIA for a long time now. They have wanted to drag Bush They have wanted to drag the CIA down for a very long time. Obama pretended he was Solomon-esque. Obama pretended he was above the fray. Obama pretended he wouldn't do this. But did you notice when it happened? A few days after he went away to Martha's Vineyard when he wouldn't take any questions from the already supine press. So therefore, it was Obama who did it. So what is Obama covering that the CIA may have uncovered about him? I don't know. But you have to ask these questions. Try to use logic, not emotion. Try to use reason, not feelings. I know it's difficult for most of you who have not been trained in deductive or inductive logic. 1-800-449-8255. MichaelSavage.com. San Diego June, you're up on the Savage Nation. Topic, please.
Hi, Michael. I love your show. I've enjoyed listening to it as I've been waiting.
Thank you.
My concern is in these town hall meetings, they're focusing just on the